Hey everybody, it's Dr. V. Thanks for being here on my channel. I love you all so much. You guys are the best. I'm back with your weekly Do I Ever Cross Your Mind reading. This is messages and thoughts from your counterpart who you're not in connection with. So before I get started, I want to say thank you to everybody who's liked, subscribed, commented, shared my videos. You guys are y'all are the bee's knees here. Thank you so much for your support. And I just realized this morning, by the way, I got a great night of sleep last night. So thank you for all the energy that you gave and all the love that you sent. I really needed that. But I noticed this morning that I had surpassed the 2,000 mark in subscribers. So thank you so much. And I was thinking about this, and I hadn't mentioned it before, but just wanted to throw it out there that as a celebration and as a thank you, I'm going to offer a coupon to people who want to purchase a private reading. And it's only for specific readings, and you'll be able to see it when you go to the website, but it's a 20% off. 20% is, 10%. Well, anyway, it's a 22,000. You guys get it. And so it's 20% off for some of the readings that I offer. But it's only available to the first 20 people who book, because if I left it open for more than that, I'd probably be booked out for like 6 months. And so I just want to make sure that it's available. So if you are interested in getting 20% off as a thank you, go ahead and click on my description in the description box below, or on the schedule button in the cover photo. So yeah, that's where we are. So Spirit, thank you for being here with me. Use me as a clear channel for communication for this message, and I just am so grateful for everything, all these wonderful people. Let the messages that come through be in the highest good of all those concerned. So I'm using the Mythical Goddess Tarot today. I haven't used this deck in quite a while, but I felt really led to it, so I'm going to go ahead and go with it. So the first question is, do they miss you? You guys, this is my personal twin flame confirmation card, so that's just exciting for me. Depletion and Sacred Fire. This is beautiful. Okay, so what I'm getting from this is literally this is, to me, it's a confirmation card. It always has been ever since I got on this twin flame journey and started reading. Every time I saw that card, it gave me I felt like it was speaking to me. That's where I got my twin flame confirmation, when I told you, I think I've told you guys, you might have heard this before, that I was like, Spirit, if this is my twin flame, then you need to show me 3 pink flamingos in the next week or whatever. And I started seeing pink flamingos everywhere. It was because of this card. So, this to me is saying yes, your counterpart is definitely thinking about you. That's they may have had signs and synchronicities that they've been seeing for a while, but this is definitely them thinking about you and wanting to come into balance. It's like they miss you. They're looking at this, if you look at this, it's like if one half is missing, it's totally out of balance. And they're feeling depleted. It's like they've been in this energy of resisting and fighting this connection for so long that they're just feeling the sense of depletion. I'm just freaking tired. It's like I'm tired of this situation not coming forward. I'm tired of feeling alone. And so this card, the Sacred Fire, Wild Buffalo Calf Woman, is all about gaining strength, setting intentions, and being deliberate about going after what you want. This is about somebody setting up. It's like the Sacred Fire is about, you put up this, your prayers are like sage. When you burn sage and it goes up to the sky, and it's like, this is about learning to live in sacred ritual. It's about courage, having strength, learning how to conquer your inner demons, having a reverence for the sacred. And so what I'm getting from this is that they're really in this space of becoming more intentional, recognizing the sacredness, especially of this connection. They're kind of feeling like, wow, maybe I do have the strength to face the stuff that I've been wanting to avoid. Maybe I've done this long enough, and I'm ready to really be intentional about creating the life that I want, because I freaking miss being with this person. So is there something they want you to know? 2 of C's, love. Manipulation. and ecstasy. Wow. So what they want you to know is that they love you. That's literally what this card is saying. I mean, look at this. We've got twos here. We've got twos here. We're like, got a lot of mirroring happening here. It's like they love you, and they're over being manipulated. It's like they have maybe manipulated themselves. I know that sounds weird, and I have to be honest with you, I struggle with that as a psychologist, because it's like former psychologist, because I feel like if you're manipulating someone, you know that you're manipulating them, so you can't really manipulate yourself, but you know, like you can't really lie to yourself, because lying involves intention to deceive, and so if you can't intend to deceive yourself and not know that you're intending that, anyway, this is where I wander off into philosophical shit, so I'm going to back away from that and go back down to, they have been manipulated. They have allowed themselves to manipulate. They have manipulated others. There's a lot of manipulative energy around them. So perhaps they were in a karmic situation with somebody who manipulated them with money, with children, with sex, with guilt, whatever. Maybe they have been the person that has manipulated. Maybe they, you know, manipulated you. Maybe they came to you and they like wanted to dip in your awesome sauce and then dip out again, and they just come do that, and it's like, no, you can't do that, you know, that's not cool. So what they want you to know is that they recognize that these manipulations have been there. They've seen that, they're owning it. They want you to know that they realize that they did that, or that they have allowed themselves to be manipulated. And they're recognizing, kind of taking responsibility and taking ownership for it, because they recognize the ecstasy that they had in this connection. Ecstasy is like, you know, it's this bliss. It's like that feeling of, I mean, I'm trying to just think, it's like when you go to if you've ever been to like a tropical island and, or you know, a tropical beach, and that feeling of just where you're sitting there in the sun and it's so hot and it's gorgeous, and then you get into the water and it's just the right temperature and it just feels like bliss. That's what they feel when they're with you. When all of the like the bullshit is out of the way and it's just the two of you connecting soul to soul, they feel that sense of ecstasy, and they want you to know that they're very, very much aware of it and that they love you. There's a lot of love in this reading today. The last couple of weeks it hasn't been. What's holding him back? Fear, cycles, and pleasure. So what's holding him back is fear. It's like they're afraid. They're afraid to let these cycles end and to move toward pleasure. They're afraid to step into their own power and go after what it is that they want. As much as they want to, they're still afraid. It's like that. Fear is a mental thing, by the way. Most of the time when we feel afraid of something, it's our mind that's telling us to be afraid. It's like the reality is not anything like that. So as an example, I have a nephew who is he's afraid of heights. He's always been afraid of heights. He's not a fan of roller coasters and things like that. And so, but we have this philosophy in my family that even if we're afraid of something, we'll try it at least once. And then our joke is kind of like, but did you die when we get off? So like, I don't like speed slides at water parks, like those 6-foot high slides where you go down and you feel like you're going to die. You know, I don't like them, but I've done them because you know, that's our philosophy. So anyway, we were at a water park a couple weeks ago for my nephew's birthday, and my younger nephew was terrified of this ride. But he, you know, because he's afraid of heights, and so he was like literally like petrified the entire way up, where he was like even on the stairs like crying, but he wasn't going to give up because he understood, and he actually was able to say this at one point. He's like, I understand that this isn't rational. He didn't say it quite like that, but he was like, I know that this isn't dangerous. I know that it's safe, but I'm still afraid. But I'm not going to let my fear control me. And so this is what I'm trying to get across, is that most of the time when we have fears, it's not rational. It's like, you know, we're afraid of heights because of whatever reason, but it's like the odds of you actually like falling, you know, are pretty small. People are afraid of flying, but the odds of flying are much, you know, flying is statistically safer than driving. I took my kid shark diving. He jumped into a cage with sharks swimming around when he was like 8. That was one of the things that's on his bucket list. And people were like, that's crazy. Aren't you afraid? And we looked up some statistics, and it's like, you're actually more likely to die from falling off a chair than you are to die from eaten by sharks. So my point being Fear is irrational, but right now your counterpart is caught in all of this irrational fear. They're entertaining the worst case scenario, and the worst case scenario is kind of leading their charge right now, and they're not in that space of recognizing that it's irrational, that the worst thing that they fear is pretty unlikely to happen, but they're still not able to get out of that. And they need to let cycles end. This can be karmic cycles, this can be behavioral cycles, this can be like addictions, anything like that. It's just like, that shit has to go. Like, it's time for it to end, but they're afraid to let it go, and they're afraid to let it end because it's comfortable. Anytime, sorry, I have somebody who gave me some advice about not clearing my throat so much, a voice, trying to remember, a speech therapist, because it can actually, you know, cause harm in your vocal cords. And so I'm being mindful of it. So thank you for the warning or the awareness. They are not letting cycles end, because if they face the cycles and they switch things and they let those cycles come to an end, it's going to require some changes, and they're afraid of that. They're actually afraid to move toward their pleasure, which seems like a lot of people are like, why would you be afraid of pleasure? Well, because pleasure is vulnerable. Pleasure requires vulnerability, and it also requires honesty. If you're saying to somebody that that you have been in a relationship with, or if you even just being honest with yourself and you're like, I'm not happy with this is not bringing me pleasure anymore, that's a difficult thing to do. It's difficult to make those changes and to speak our truth in that way. So that's part of what they're afraid of. So I'm going to move these aside, and we're going to look at, do they want to reunite? Reunited and it feels so good. Do you guys remember that song? It's Peaches and Herb. Old school music. That's what I consider old school. I had some kind of feeling the other day when I saw 80s music referred to as oldies. I was like, really? Is that what we're doing now? So, do they want to reunite? It's like, yeah, look at that. They're isolated. They feel alone. They feel completely alone. Even if they're surrounded by people, even if they have family or friends or relationship that they're currently in, they still feel isolated because they know they're not at home, which is with you. And again, I'm not saying please don't hear this as physically, because sometimes, again, not every twin flame connection is meant to come together into union, but we are meant to, and hopefully we'll come into spiritual union. Sometimes people can be in spiritual union and not be in physical union. That does happen. And so it's like, they're afraid of being alone, but they recognize that they want to, when they think about you, they think about ending this isolation, and they think about the joy, and they think about the alchemy. They think about the magic. Alchemy is magic, guys. It's about like taking something and, taking nothing and making it into something. They think about the alchemy of the sexual union, that you can't, if you have been physically intimate with your partner or you with your counterpart, and you recognize that merging of souls that takes place, that it's like unlike anything you've ever experienced. It's that energy. It's like they recognize that, and they think about it, and they're like, man, I want to come back to that. Like, I want some more of that. Like, I want that joy and that alchemy that broke me open and made me want to be a better person, that taught me things that I wasn't aware of. That's what they're thinking about. So I definitely get that they're thinking about wanting to come toward and ending this isolation. So what are their fears? Holy cow, look at that. This is a person who's self-destructive. Oracle, the Yamaya card, and fruition. 2 10s in a row, by the way, so we want to look at that. So what I get from this is this is a person literally who is self-destructive. Maybe a Scorpio. This may be particularly resonant for those of you that are in a relationship or a counterpart with a Scorpio. My girlfriend, who is she has her PhD in human sciences, and she is an astrologer, best astrologer I've ever worked with in my entire life. So her name is Laura Tad, and she's on Mythic. Her website is Mythic Sky, but she tells the story of astrology through mythology. So she studied Jung and archetype. So anyway, one of the things that she told me once that really stuck with me is that Scorpios can be very self-destructive. They can go into that energy of being self-destructive, and you know, a scorpion will sting itself and die rather than get trapped. And so that's kind of the energy that I'm getting right there. That's not saying that this is specific to Scorpios. I'm saying that if you have a Scorpio in your life, this could particularly resonate, but this can go for anyone. Self-destructive. Have you ever seen somebody that's self-destructive? It's like they'll get to a certain point of success and then they do something stupid and sabotage themselves. Bill Clinton, for instance, it's like, you know, what he did when he was president, that was self-destructive. That was stupid. It tarnished his legacy. It's like he could have been known for so many other things, and instead he's known for the president that got a blowjob in the Oval Office. That's really primarily what he's known for, even though there were other things that he did that were great. That's self-destructive. And so your counterpart is fearful of their own self-destructive nature. They understand that they have a tendency to self-sabotage. They understand that they have a tendency to destroy the very thing that they love because they feel unworthy, because they may feel like they don't deserve it, whatever it is, but they're afraid of that. They're afraid of their own self-destructive nature, and they're not quite sure how to deal with it yet. And so it's like, better figure it out, because, you know, we ain't got forever. But they're also afraid of this oracle energy. Oracle energy is about that wisdom. It's about deeper knowing. It's about intuition. It's like, you know, the Yamaya, it's a mermaid. Mermaids are like, if you think about it, deep diving. Anais Nin, one of my favorite philosophers, said, I must be a mermaid because I have no fear of depth and a great fear of shallow living. They're afraid of depth. They're afraid of going within internally, diving into that subconscious energy and doing the exploration that needs to happen in order to transform. They're afraid of it. They're afraid of what that requires, because it's not easy. Let's just be freaking real. For those of us that have been doing the work, this shit's not easy. It's like you face yourself, you see every limitation that you've created, you see all of the stuff that you haven't done, all of the things that all the ways that you've limited yourself. This shit's not easy. Let's just be real. You know, anybody that's like, oh, this journey is great, and I'm like, I don't know what kind of journey you're on, because this journey has like ripped me, and I mean this in a good way. It's not fun to get ripped to shreds spiritually, right? It's like, who freaking wants that? But it's part of the process, and once you're through it, it's freaking amazing. But going through it's no fun. He or she is afraid of this going within. That's just what it comes down to. They're afraid to let things come to fruition. It's just a sense of fear of letting themselves grow, fear of letting their lives grow, fear of what wants to come to fruition coming to pass. It's all of those fears. I'm not saying that it makes sense. I'm not saying that any of it's like, you know, it's not that their feelings are invalid. It's just a fear. And like I said in the beginning, fears are just fears. They're just stories we're telling ourselves. They're afraid of letting things come to fruition. Again, because it's going to cost something. You don't get greatness for free. So what are their regrets? Resurrection. Wow. The sun. And desire. Wow. So they regret that they didn't allow themselves to be resurrected. It's like they turned away from it. They regretted an opportunity to transform, to be resurrected, to be rebirthed in a different way, to go into that fire of transmutation. They were offered that opportunity, and the opportunity, they chose to walk away. They chose to like turn away from that because it was too much for them to bear. Again, it's hard. It's not like it's easy, right? We understand it's not like it's easy to do that, but they regret that they didn't. They regret that they turned away from the resurrection opportunity. They regret that they didn't allow themselves to go into that. And so they regret this Amaterasu. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but I'm doing my best. But something happened, and she was like, you know, she went and hid in a cave, and she's a sun goddess. And so she, of course, when the sun goes into the cave, what happens to the earth? Everything gets cold, everything starts to die. And so she ended up being coaxed from her cave with laughter, with joy. and then brought back, you know, coming back to the earth, brought out of the cave, brought life back to the earth. And so being that this is, you know, in the regret space, the person that you're watching this for regrets that they didn't allow themselves to receive this light. They didn't allow themselves to shine. They didn't allow themselves to receive the joy and the laughter and what that wanted to come to them. They didn't allow themselves to become whole. They ran from this connection, is what I'm getting, and because it required something of them, because they were afraid to come into wholeness. They regret that they weren't optimistic. It's like they didn't allow themselves to see the possibilities for this connection, for how it could work out, for how they could transform. They just didn't do that. So they have a lot of regret that they stayed hidden in the cave instead of coming out. And they regret that they didn't pursue their desire. It's like they had this desire, they recognized this desire, they recognized that it was very much connected to you, and they wanted, of course there was a piece of them that wanted to come forward with that, but they didn't. They allowed outside circumstances, outside people, outside voices to really influence what they did, and because of that they regret that they didn't allow their desires to come to manifest. It's like their desires are still sitting there not being manifested because they didn't allow it to, and they regret that. They regret, it's like I'm really getting that they're looking back at the situation right now with a lot of longing and some pain actually, because it's like they recognize that they had the thing that they most wanted present itself to them, like this pearl, you know. It's like they had you showing up with this offer of love, with like everything that they always wanted. In that movie, Fools Rush In, which I always reference, it's like, you know, where he says, "You're everything I never knew I always wanted." It's like they had that. They had, literally, they held the thing that they most freaking wanted in the palm of their hand. You were offering them love. You were offering them union, communion, being able to like manifest your dreams and desires together. And they were like, nah, it requires too much of me, so I'm going to just, you know, run away from it. And they have a ton of regret about it. They have a lot of regret is what I'm getting right now. So I'm going to move this aside, and I'm going to use the Less Vampires deck by Lucy Cavendish, and I'm just going to pull some final messages. Like, what are some final messages from Spirit for the person who's watching? I love this deck, by the way. I wish it was a little bit more inclusive and diverse, of course, because I'm always thinking about diversity and inclusiveness, but it's pretty good. So some final messages for Spirit, from Spirit, for the Watcher. Creator, look at that. I love this. So the Spirit wants you to know that you are a creator. You're a catalyst. Like you literally, what I'm getting this is like you can literally create whatever it is that you want to create with your life right now. If you just take the time and the energy to be the creator. Set your intentions. Like literally set your intentions and say it every freaking day. Don't just be passive in your manifestations, because right now you have this creative energy. I'm getting like you could literally those of you that have been on this path and have been doing your work, doing your healing work, I'm getting literally that like you can set an intention, boom, it's there. It's like you can create whatever it is that you want. You want to manifest a certain thing into your life, set the intention, put it out there to the universe, and boom, it's going to show up. So be very intentional about what you're putting out there right now, because you have the ability to create an amazing existence. Now, I see this card, Prey. It says stalked, invaded, and watched. I don't see that in like a stalk way, like creepy stalker. I see this as your counterpart is watching. Okay, so if you're on social media, if you are, if you're on social media, be freaking careful of what you're putting out there. You know, you don't want to put out the wrong thing and give the wrong message. It's like if you're putting out things that are saying like anything that's just not of the highest energies, if you're doing things like you want them to be jealous or whatever, just be careful, because they are watching. Okay. So again, just be mindful. Make sure whatever you're putting out there is of divine love. And then this one, it says, madness, ecstatic, ritual, and energy release. This is saying to me, what I'm getting from this is like, there are some of you that have some pent up energies that you need to release. Do it with dancing, do it with praying, do it with meditating, whatever it is for you. But let this this energy that's been pent up within you come out, because the sooner that you let it come out, the sooner you'll be able to move forward in more meaningful ways in this connection. It's like, let things go. Create this ecstatic ritual. I have a close friend of mine that does what she calls dance church, and it's where they go and they dance and they whirl, and it's like it goes through certain rhythms where it's slow and then it's fast and then it's like, you know, incredibly fast and intense, and it is a physical release of any kind of any emotions that you're holding into your body. So this is saying, like, there's some energy that needs to be released. Do whatever it is that you need to do to release that, because it's time. I feel like for a lot of people, you're going to be getting contacted by your counterpart soon, because they're watching, they're seeing you. And if you really want that to happen, set that intention and call them back into your life, because I feel like you do have the power to do that. But setting the intention without it being, you know, without expectation. So being open to the magic of however it happens is the way that it's going to happen, and that you're open to whatever magic it is that the universe wants to give. So anyway, I hope that reading helps. Again, if you want to book a reading with me, go to the link, you know, click the link in the description box, and the coupon code for the 20% off reading is thank you. So again, thank you all for being here. I love you all so much, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.